All right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this week's edition of Roundabout Sports, presented by Interstate 70 Sports Media, where our passion is our profession. Thank you for tuning in on what is a cool Wednesday night, October 18th, 2023. I'm the Maestro, Jeremy Karp, and we have a lot to talk about in the world of sports this week, including the fact that in what has been a shocking MLB playoff so far, the Texas Rangers are 2 games up on the Houston Astros. And I mean, the Philadelphia Phillies are just absolutely dominating so far. They are considered by many to be the favorites to win the World Series as they take on the Arizona Diamondbacks. Um, and of course, I'm grateful. Got a comment here from my amazing girlfriend, Piper, tuning in. Thank you all so much. Be sure to tune in, send your comments, questions, everything that you can. We definitely have a lot to talk about. So, yes, the first thing I do want to talk about is the fact that this postseason has provided a new look on the new 12-team format, which adds an additional wild card in both the American and the National League. Now, the Rangers, like I said, they're already up 2-0 on the Astros, who were preseason favorites to win the World Series, or at the very least make the World Series. The Rangers swept the Orioles, who won over 100 games this year. They swept them 3-0 in the divisional series after already beating the Tampa Bay Rays in the wild card. Meanwhile, the Arizona Diamondbacks beat the Brewers in the wild card to advance to the divisional series to face another 100 plus win team, the Los Angeles Dodgers. And they took it to the Dodgers, and the Dodgers got eliminated. Every team that won 100 plus games is out of the playoffs. That being the Braves, the Orioles, and the Dodgers. And it's crazy to think about that we're already up to that point. And Jared tuning in, he did call it. He called it last week about how well the Phillies were going to do. And his prediction is the Phillies are going to go all the way. He says here, Dodgers sucks. That's why Phillies going all the way and winning the entire thing. Underdog year. And honestly, I mean, the Philadelphia Phillies have really shined. Yet, like the Phillies are already up 2-0 on the Diamondbacks. Yesterday, they won 10-0 against Arizona in Philadelphia. And this is the thing. So it's not just the offense that was so dominant at the plate. Because let's also talk about who will be one of the hottest free agents this upcoming MLB offseason, and that is Aaron Nola. He put on yet a postseason performance, and he gave up just 3 hits. He struck out 7 batters, and he didn't walk anybody. He pitched 6 innings, and right now, since August 10th, the Phillies are 8-0 in games in which started by Aaron Nola in Philadelphia. Meanwhile, Trey Turner hit a home run, and Kyle Schwarber hit 2 home runs, which is they've out-homered their opponents 35-9 in their last 14 postseason games at Citizens Bank Park. Right now, they just had no answers, Arizona did. Like, Arizona has tried as best as they can to stay in it. We will see what happens in game 3. Meanwhile, in just a few minutes from this live broadcast, game 3 between the Rangers and the Astros will be taking place. and we will be keeping you posted on that if there's any score changes or anything interesting along the way. Now, like I said, a lot of people do have issues with the wild card format, especially because all the teams that were considered the favorites entering the postseason, such as the Brewers, or not the Brewers, the Braves and the Orioles, for example, are eliminated, as of course the Dodgers. And a lot of that just comes to the fact that, they feel teams that won the most games shouldn't have the extra rest. And it affects them going into the start. Meanwhile, I know a lot of people that want it back the way it was when teams, you would just take the two winners of two divisions, have them face off. Winner of that goes to the World Series. Simple enough. So who knows what'll happen, but like I said, I'll keep everybody here posted on Roundabout Sports as far as what happens in the game between the Rangers and Astros. Game will be taking place in Texas. Meanwhile, on a quick bit of wrestling news, in a recent development within WWE, it appears as Triple H has taken the helm for the majority of the creative decisions as opposed to Vince McMahon. Of course, from the Wrestling Observer Radio, Dave Meltzer, Uncle Dave, as everybody likes to call him, and God forbid, I hate getting news from him, but he's a go-to dirt sheet guy. Says, quote, he's out of creative. It's a big story because when they were on the verge of closing the deal and had actually closed the deal in April, said Vince will be in charge of the company, and if me and Vince, this being Ari Emanuel, have a disagreement, it goes the way Vince wants because Vince is the guy. And here we are a month later, folks, and Vince McMahon is out of creative, and Triple H is at the helm for it. So, yeah, it's very interesting to see how that is all played out. And we'll see where it goes from here on out. But now we're going to head to the world of the NFL. So, it's crazy to believe, but entering last Sunday, we had two undefeated teams left in the NFL in Week 6, them being the San Francisco 49ers and the Philadelphia Eagles. Well, the Cleveland Browns and the New York Jets decided to put an end to both of those undefeated records. The Cleveland Browns beat the 49ers in stunning fashion Sunday, handing the Niners their first loss of a season after a missed field goal at the end of the fourth by the Niners. So here's some by the numbers of Cleveland's victory, which puts them up to 3-2 on the season. So 108. The Browns defense held the 49ers to 108 rushing yards, which is by far their lowest total of the season. 125. The defense held the 49ers to 125 passing yards, also the lowest this season. 5. The number of times the Browns defense tackled the 49ers for a loss. 16. This is the first loss in 16 regular season games going back to last year for the San Francisco 49ers. 160. The Browns rushed for 160 yards, the most since Week 2. Jerome Ford led the team with 84. 17. The 49ers total points on Sunday's game, which is the fewest they've scored in an entire game this season. We're also going to go once again to the number 108. Browns wide receiver Amari Cooper caught 4 passes for 108 yards. This year, this is the second time he has crossed 100 yards receiving. And lastly, where is it? Number 55.3. 49ers quarterback Brock Purdy ended the game with a 55.3 passer rating, the lowest of the season. Coming into Sunday, he had the best passer rating among starting quarterbacks, which is awesome for the sake for me being a Browns fan, but also sucks because I did start Brock Purdy in fantasy, and I paid for it when I should have started Sam Howell. But, shit happens. Then we go over to the New York Jets and Eagles game. So, there's some interesting numbers in regards to the Jets and the Eagles. So, we'll start with the number one. Believe it or not, in the long history of both the New York Jets and the Philadelphia Eagles, this is the first time the Jets have beaten Philadelphia. It is crazy to think about. But it is true. This is the first time the New York Jets beat the Philadelphia Eagles. And so, meanwhile, 13. The Jets' 13 takeaways are tied for second in the NFL with Buffalo and 2 behind the leader, Jacksonville. The number 3. 3 of those takeaways were interceptions from Jalen Hurts, the quarterback of the Philadelphia Eagles. Running back Breece Hall says, I just know they're going to get us the ball back. That's the biggest thing. Meanwhile, field position was a huge part of it. The Jets' average start of their drive was at the 43-yard line, while the Eagles would start their drive at the average of the 21-yard line. So, I mean, obviously field position is a huge thing in any sports. And hey, I mean, look, give Tim Couch an offensive line, his career would have been better. So it's interesting. Nick, and I brought that up because Nick, longtime listener, dear friend, said bring back Tim Couch. But he also commented an update on Frank Clark. Well, before I get into Frank Clark, I will have to say McCole Hardman has rejoined the Kansas City Chiefs. Hardman has been traded from the Jets after less than a year with the team, alongside a 2025 7th-round pick in return for a 2025 6th-round pick. The plan was for Hardman to be a great downfield threat for Aaron Rodgers, but of course Rodgers' injury, that's probably season-ending, is definitely not helping the situation, and he was just never involved in the offense. With that, it does bring up the question a lot of people, including Nick, had. What about Frank Clark? Well, per Carrington Harrison of 610 Sports in Kansas City, the Chiefs are inviting Frank Clark to Arrowhead for a free agent visit and a physical. This is something that'll be done at the Chiefs team facility on Thursday, the 19th. Now, Clark was let go by the Broncos earlier this month after playing just 2 games for them this season. He had just 2 tackles and was clearly not going to be a part of the defensive plan going forward. So, yes, it is confirmed that Frank Clark will be at least having a tryout / physical with the team that he started out with. So, in 58 regular season games for the Chiefs, Clark had 23 and a half sacks. Now, I also want to bring up we're going to go local now with some news in regards to the Family Arena. Okay, so for those that don't know, the Family Arena, for those that are just tuning in, the Family Arena is an arena in St. Charles, Missouri, right alongside the Missouri riverfront. Well, it is coming up close to its 25th birthday, and the arena is set to receive, according to the Post-Dispatch, millions in dollars of upgrades over the course of the next few years. Now, over the past few months, a lot of officials have questioned its long-term future of the arena, saying the county should sell the arena instead. Now, I want to make it clear this is one of the most popular arenas and event venues in the metro area. It hosts more than 100 events per year, seats up to over 11,000 people. It is the host of graduations, concerts, and multiple sporting events by many local teams, including the St. Louis Ambush. And it's the largest multi-purpose event venue in the county. It's providing a boost to hotels and restaurants. However, a lot of people, detractors, think there's a little return on investment from upgrading it. But the thing of it is, if you look at it and see, live in the general area, so I'm not too far away from the family arena. I look at where it's at. Um, the family arena is just down the road from downtown St. Charles. It's just down the road from the streets of St. Charles, which is a really up and coming, booming hotel, restaurant, and entertainment district. And it goes without saying how much population growth has been going on in St. Charles and in the county as a whole. So, and Nick has commented on the fact that it can't fill seats but not lack of trying. And that's true. I've had the pleasure of being in attendance at many Ambush games, and I look forward to doing that this year via press. And they'll have a few hundred fans in attendance. It's never been a full-on straight sellout, but there's a viable product on the field. And I've had the pleasure of going to multiple WWE shows there, concerts. I got to see the late great Jerry Lewis perform at the Family Arena many years ago. So the Family Arena is a great local venue in my opinion, and I'm all in favor of the upgrades that it would need in order to keep things going strong around here. Now, I will say the goal is to have all the upgrades installed by 2026. The council here already approved 1.8 million in renovations for 7 new video boards in the arena. So now I will say, operating losses at the Family Arena have declined to between 100,000 and 200,000 in recent years. Last year's losses fell to 60,000. So losses are being minimized, which is always a good sign in the future to see as time goes by. With that, we're going to continue with the local St. Louis talk, if you will, St. Louis area talk. And meanwhile, according to Bleeding Blue on Fansided, Jason Martin is talking about on Tuesday, after their shootout win over the Seattle Kraken, there was a lot of physicality going on at practice between new captain Braden Shen and the newly extended forward Jordan Kyrou. Jeremy Refford reporting it was just a friendly chat, if you will, nothing to be concerned about, but it's still an interesting tidbit nonetheless. So next up, the St. Louis Blues will be taking on none other than the Arizona Coyotes tomorrow at 7 p.m. Central Time. And then this Saturday, they'll be taking on the Pittsburgh Penguins. Both of these games will be in St. Louis. Then they don't return to the ice again until Tuesday, October 24th, when they head up north to Winnipeg to take on the Jets. Once again, thank you all so much for tuning in to Roundabout Sports. I'm the Maestro, Jeremy Karp, and we're going to go to Kansas City for a second, talking about some Kansas City sports, latest news going on. And, I had already, what's interesting? So there's something I wanted to bring up. And this one kind of segues into this. So, according to the Kansas City Star, Patrick Mahomes is quoted as saying that he does hope he can own an NFL, be an owner of an NFL team someday. Saying, quote, that I love this sport. Which is interesting because, Mahomes is already a part owner of the Kansas City Royals, Sporting KC, the Kansas City Currents, and a local pickleball team in Miami, Florida. And, he's already mentioned that he also has become a part owner of the Alpine race team in Formula One racing. But he says that he's going to keep investing until he gets to the one team he ultimately wants. He says, not until I own an NFL team. If I can get there, then I might settle down. But they make it pretty tough to get to that spot. Eventually, when I'm done playing, I think these are quotes from Patrick Mahomes himself. Quote, I think Tom Brady is trying to do it right now, but that's definitely where you want to get to do because I love this sport and I want to give back in any way possible when I'm done playing. Obviously, I'll be a Chiefs fan, but at the same time, I want to have that competitive edge like I've always had my entire life. You know, right now he has a contract that pays him over $500 million total in the NFL. He's already making plenty of money with the investments he has in multiple sport franchises. And when Aaron Rodgers was traded from the Packers to the Jets, he was trying to get equity in the Jets. And prospect Caleb Williams, who's currently the USC quarterback, says the only way he'll play on a specific team when he gets drafted is if he gets an ownership stake in that team. But there's a difference between having an established NFL quarterback who's on pace to go down as one of, not the greatest ever, owning a team, and a college kid who hasn't even touched the NFL field yet. Now, Nick has sent in a question here. Will Kansas City ever get a hockey team? So I'm guessing he's referring to Kansas City, like an NHL team. Well, obviously, they did have one for a brief time, for a couple seasons. They were the Kansas City Scouts, professional ice hockey team from 1974 to 76. And 76, they relocated to Denver and became, believe it or not, the Colorado Rockies. And then a few years later, they moved to New Jersey, where they are currently still there, known as the New Jersey Devils. So the New Jersey Devils are just an inclination or incarnation, if you will, of the former Kansas City Scouts. And the only hockey team currently in Kansas City is the Kansas City Mavericks. They are the ECHL affiliate for the Seattle Kraken and the AHL's Coachella Valley Firebirds. And this is their 15th season as a professional hockey franchise, and they serve the greater Kansas City metro area. And they are the longest tenured hockey team in the history of the city of Kansas City. Rumors have swirled for a long time that when the NHL plans to expand again, they would have Kansas City in line to have an NHL team. But of course, there's also been rumors about them having an NBA team when expansion hits. Right now, Missouri sports team or cities are really on the rise when it comes to sports franchises. St. Louis went from having just 2 sports franchises to now you're going to have an arena team. You already have the XFL. Battlehawks, and you have the St. Louis City SC Major League Soccer team. And it goes without saying how fantastic they've done, exceeding expectations. Um, time will tell if the city of Kansas City will receive a NHL team in its near future. It would be really something to look forward to, you know. And I can continue on from this because, you know, this past decade, it's just been a heck of a ride for Kansas City sports fans. Um, and both the Royals and the Chiefs have won league championships. Um, and you know, June is when the pinnacle of the NBA season happens, and then the NHL playoffs. But it's been 46 plus years, 47 years actually, since they've had an NHL team, and it's been 38 years since they've had an NBA team. There's all kinds of reasons for that. You have nationwide market forces that come with being a smaller size market. Kansas City may be the largest city in Missouri, but it is not the largest market. There's questions about finding the local ownership, which, I mean, shoot, if Patrick Mahomes keeps on investing, we might not have as much a problem. And now before the T-Mobile Center was built, there was the issue of finding a suitable arena for an NBA team or an NHL team. But, there is a lot of people who have promoted, and meanwhile, we got a comment from Jared saying the KC market is absolute trash. So feel free, folks, to tell me what you think of Jared's opinion on that one. Meanwhile, yes, I do have news in regards to the St. Louis Cardinals, Nick, and it's actually kind of shocking news, but Arenado's streak is over. So Nolan Arenado, third baseman for the Cardinals, after 10 years of winning the Gold Glove Award for third baseman, is not even a finalist this year. In fact, the only Cardinal who is a finalist for a Gold Glove Award is Tommy Edman, and that's for the utility position. It's very... I mean, the defense wasn't as great as it was in 2022, but at the same time, it's still shocking to me that only one person received any type of Gold Glove nominee or finalist award. And there's also a big rumor circulating in regards to Yadier Molina, the former Cardinal catcher and future Hall of Fame catcher. So there is a report by Fox 2 sports director Martin Kilconey that the Cardinals had started discussions with Molina about a return to the franchise in a coaching and/or advisory role. Molina was interviewed by a newspaper in Puerto Rico and was quoted as saying, "We hope that if something happens, it'll happen soon. And if not, I'd still be willing to continue helping them when they need me while I'm here in Puerto Rico. They have the knowledge of my willingness to accept a coaching/advising position." And it's interesting because just when it looks like the Cardinals, this might be their first season since 2001 without Wainwright, Molina, or Pujols in any capacity with the organization. And, Jared's commenting here about, "I don't think Yachty could make a difference. No offense, but it's more than management. It's about how the team can execute a game." It's both. The team's on-field product And it's interesting because Piper always says this. She doesn't get how coaches are always the scapegoats when, it's players that struggle. And the Cardinals players were definitely struggling throughout the season. You don't lose 93 games because of just Ollie, but management plays a big role as well. This will be the first time since 1918 a Cardinal manager has lost 90 games and won't get fired, which speaks volume. Like, it speaks a lot of the front office's opinions of him. And I feel like weekly I go in depth on what they probably do think of him. But, Molina, I feel that Molina coming back would be, as far as an advisory role or some capacity. I'm not saying him coming back as a player, but him coming back just with the organization would be good for leadership purposes for the team. But he should be under no obligation or feel any pressure to. He is retired. He did his 19 years of playing, poured his heart and soul out. I mean, hell, enjoy retirement, man. And also kudos to Adam Wainwright, because he has received a lot of praise for his analyst skills during the series between the Rangers and the Minnesota Twins in the American League Divisional Series. And it goes without saying that Adam Wainwright was always talking about getting back into broadcasting after his playing career has ended. So this was a, bright sight to see. So definitely looking forward to see how it goes. So yeah. And one more piece of news for the evening. It's not exactly. It's definitely going to be a news piece that's going to piss a lot of people off, but it is what it is. Roger Goodell, the commissioner of the NFL, has had his contract extended through the spring of 2027, following approval from the owners. It was set to expire next year, and damn, I was really hoping it would. But, the compensation committee officially extended the commissioner's contract at the fall meetings in New York today. And Goodell has been the head of the league since 2006. Lord have mercy, it's been that long. Hell, I was still in elementary school when he was starting out as commissioner, and I'm just now celebrating earlier this year, celebrating my 10-year reunion from graduating high school. And look, Roger Goodell has had, and I can do an entire episode, and maybe one day I will, on my thoughts on Roger Goodell. He has been through a lot when it comes to what he's had to deal with in the business of the NFL. And this isn't me giving him, like saying great job or things like that. This is just me saying, between Bountygate, Spygate, Deflategate, thankfully not Watergate, but let's see, Crowdgate, and that's all the gates. But then you had everything involving the players protesting during the national anthem. You had the big issues in regards to concussions in the NFL, CTE, everything involving that. The controversy surrounding Ray Rice, Tyreek Hill, Kareem Hunt, Adrian Peterson, so, and look, the league makes money. At the end of the day, that's what they care about. They care about the fact that the league makes money, and they make a lot of it. This is a multi-billion-dollar company. The NFL, yes, it's a football sports league, but it is also a company. And they make a shit ton of money. They are expanding internationally. They've had games in London, in Frankfurt, Germany, in Mexico City. I mean, the NFL is a big business, and Roger Goodell's had a part of that. Now, after this 3-year deal, he might be leaving. However, I mean, he by the time his contract ends, he'll be 68 years old. It's possible he would stay for another term and see the league through another CBA negotiation, which would be his third. The thing of it is, the reason I also feel like he's been the commissioner for so long, there's nobody set to replace him. When Paul Tagliabue retired, everybody had it. Roger Goodell was already there. Goodell was going to be the replacement. Whereas we don't have anybody right now that would be replacing Roger Goodell if he retired. So, at the end of this new deal, Goodell would only trail Pete Rozelle in terms of years as an NFL commissioner. Pete Rozelle, for those who don't know, presided over the league from 1960 until 1989. The compensation committee is chaired by Patriots owner Robert Kraft, and he also is joined by Arizona's Michael Bidwell, Cleveland's Jimmy Haslam, Jacksonville's Shad Khan, and the Giants' John Mara. So, yeah, I mean, there you go. So Roger Goodell, for better or worse, like it or not, he's still going to be the commissioner until further notice of the National Football League. Well, folks, that's going to do it this week on Roundabout Sports. I want to thank you all so much for tuning in. Before we close, as always, first I want to say you can find Roundabout Sports on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Breaker, and all other streaming platforms. I know episodes may not be up to date, but they're going to be very soon. We're, of course, on YouTube under Interstate 70 Sports Media. We're on Facebook for both Roundabout Sports and Interstate 70 Sports Media. You can find us on X, Twitter. Screw it, it's Twitter. For Interstate 70 Sports Media. And as we close, I want to first put up the NAMI helpline. NAMI is the National Alliance on Mental Illness. It's the nation's largest grassroots mental health organization dedicated to building better lives. For any more information, you are able to dial 1-800-950-NAMI. That is 1-800-950-NAMI. And also, as always, we have the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. For that, you dial 988. The line is open 365, 366 on a leap year, 24/7. Understand that you're never alone in this world. There's a reason I put this number up at the end of every show, because it is such an important. Mental health is something that gets so overlooked, but it is so important, and you matter out there. And whatever you're struggling with, whatever you're going through, you're just a phone call or a text message or an email away from getting the help you need. And you could also be the listening ears for somebody else who's crying out for help. So I want to thank you all so much for tuning in. Be sure to tune in next week or earlier for another episode of Roundabout Sports. I'm the Maestro Jeremy Karp, and remember, life is a book full of empty pages just waiting to be written in. Make your lives worth reading.